Hi everybody, welcome to Jerusalem. I'm going to be doing a virtual walk today. We're at a little shopping mall called the Mamilla Mall. Those who have been here will recognize it. And what I'm going to do with you is have a little bit of an introductory tour of Jerusalem. I have to have my mask on, so the camera's going to be facing. It's like you're walking next to me. Why don't we just do it that way? Those who have been here before, I have not been here since March. I was last here about March 10th. Today is now June 23rd, 22nd, June 23rd. And as you can see, it is not a whole lot of tourism here. There's actually no foreign tourism. If you come to Israel, you have to self-isolate for 14 days. But, you know, I don't want to talk about my troubles. Let's talk about this fantastic gate we're seeing. The Old City. We're going to talk about the wall street of the Old City. Now, the Old City is only about 3.5% of the population of Jerusalem. Only about 36,000 people live in Jerusalem, in the Old City. In Jerusalem itself, in the city, there's about 850,000. Jerusalem is the largest city in Israel. Now, the walls you see here were built by the Turkish Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent, and he really was quite a guy. He built the walls more of an ornament than for protection, because you'll see the walls are straight. By the time he builds these walls, and these walls were built, if memory serves, around 1540, 1541, they're already obsolete because they're susceptible to cannon fire. So this is Jaffa Gate. There are 7 gates in Jerusalem, the Old City. The Old City's area is only 1 square mile. So we're going to walk in. Now, as we walk in, I want you to notice up there is a little room that has a floor that has no floor. And what that is, the idea is to drop boiling oil on attackers. So we see these huge doors, and we see the ladies here making some sort of movie. So we'll let them make their movie, and we'll continue making ours. Now notice as we walk through the gate, we made a 90-degree turn, and that was to slow down the impetus of an attacking army. So as you walk in the Old City, you'll notice there's this big breach in the wall. And this breach was made, and this road paved here for Kaiser Wilhelm II, the Kaiser of Germany, so he can make a triumphal entrance. So let's go and let's look at the city. Let's get the map out. So Ron Pitts, if you're watching, you should be happy. One of my former tourists, and a great guy all around, helped me a lot when I had a tour. So this is the Old City. We're right here at Jaffa Gate. Now, like most maps, the map is oriented north-south, and you'll notice that the city is bisected by a main road. This is called a Cardo, and this is, even though the city walls are Crusader from the 16th century AD, CE, that Cardo dates from as early as the 2nd century AD. And the reason is because in the year 135, when Jerusalem is renamed Aelia Capitolina after Emperor Hadrian. Aelia was his Greek name. You built cities with sort of squarish, with the main road running north-south, and then called a Cardo, and then you hit east-west streets called Decumani, And the main one is today the Via Dolorosa. We're not doing the Via Dolorosa today. That'll be another day. What we're going to do is we're going to walk on the city walls. So the city itself is very small. It's 1 square kilometer, less than 1 square mile, and it's split up into 4 quarters. So as we walk in, on our right to the south, the Armenian quarter. Now, what are the Armenians doing here? Armenia is the first country to convert to Christianity, 301 CE, and they say they've been here ever since. The center of the Armenian quarter, and by the way, about 1,000 people live there. Not a lot of people in the Armenian quarter. Is St. James Cathedral. James Yaakov, my name, the brother of Jesus, who is martyred in Jerusalem later on. Then further east, the Jewish quarter, and of course, what makes the Jewish quarter is the Western Wall. I don't know if we're going to get to the Jewish quarter today. What we're going to do today is we're going to walk on the walls, and we get off at Zion Gate, and then I'm going to walk and probably end the tour maybe in the middle of the Jewish quarter. We'll see. What is a big part of Jerusalem, of course, is the Temple Mount. Today on the Temple Mount is the Dome of the Rock. But the Dome of the Rock sits on the spot of Herod's temple, and sometimes called the Second Temple, and of course, on the exact same spot, the temple built by Solomon, the first temple. So that's where that is. Muslim quarter, and by the way, Jewish quarter, about 3,500 people live here. The Muslim quarter, of course, because they want to be near the Dome of the Rock, Haram al-Sharif. And in the Muslim quarter, about 28,000 people, give or take. And of course, the Christian quarter, the northwesternmost part of the city, is centered around the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Church of the Holy Sepulchre will be a tour in itself. So when you come to Jerusalem, it's nice if you can begin the tour the way we're going to go now. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to go out of the walls now and walk on the walls up there. Now it's not a very strenuous walk, and it's not a very long walk, but it's really worth doing. By the way, you notice that nobody is selling anything here. Just a guy there selling juice. These are porters, these guys here, and they're waiting for goods to be taken into the old city. So what we're going to do is the Ramparts Walk. Here's the Ramparts Walk, and this is Suleiman the Magnificent. He's the fella that apparently what he looked like. He's got a great hat, a great tarbouche, I guess you'd call it. So as we walk around, now remember we're inside the city, but and I'm really glad I didn't park my car here, as you can see. Man, how's this going to get out? It's not a problem. You can see this outer wall, and in the distance we see right in front of us, that's the David Citadel Hotel, the Center for Reform Judaism, and the big building with the spire behind it. That spire is the spire of the YMCA Three Arches Hotel. The architect was the same architect who built the Empire State Building, a guy named Arthur Harmon. And of course the building with the green windows right there in the middle, that is the famous King David Hotel. And I've got a problem with the King David. It used to be the place to stay in Jerusalem, but their service is just not what it used to be, so I can't recommend it anymore. So what we're going to do is we're going to walk on the ramparts. Now as we do, we have this section of the wall here. This part is Crusader. Now the walls today are mainly Turkish, but this part is Crusader. This part right here, and we're going to walk in a Crusader entrance to the city. Crusader Jerusalem fell to the Muslims in November 1187. It fell to a guy named Saladin. But we're going to, let me just turn off here and I'll take care of. אהלן, מה שלומך? בסדר, באתי לעשות סיבוב. תודה רבה. פעם הבאה עם תיירים, אה? השד יודע מתי זה יהיה?
בעזרת השם אני מקווה שישתחרר לנו.
בוא נראה. תודה. Okay. Thank you. Wishing me a nice day. So here we are going into the city, and this is something you don't see a lot in Jerusalem. This is bedrock. And we see actually parts of an older wall. This it says here the Byzantine period. So we're talking about 500 AD, the bottom of the wall there. Yeah. So that is, and then you can see it's now we're sort of in between the walls now, but we're going to be walking on top of the, we're going to go up there, and we're going to be walking on the ramparts. Now you can walk all of the ramparts today, but because of the COVID-19, they've closed part of they've closed part of it, so I don't know if it's open or not. Now, what's interesting is, hope I'm filming. Am I? Yes. What's interesting is that right under here, and you actually walk in. See, it says Kishle entrance. You walk down the steps, and they found the foundation of Herod's palace here. So Herod's palace in Jerusalem was here in front of us. And why is that important? Because the entrance to his palace, which would have been over, we're going to actually walk over there to the police station, was probably where Jesus was tried by Pilate. So if and when you do the Via Dolorosa, and you go to Station 1, which is on the other side of the city, and Station 1 celebrates or marks the spot where Jesus is tried, he wasn't tried there. Because, how do I know this? Because Scripture tells me he's tried in the Praetorium, and the Praetorium is somewhere over here on the western side of the city. And do you see that guy over there? Now this is interesting. That is a rock hyrax. I see that critter. And this is the first time I've seen one. They've returned. There's usually so many tourists, they hide in the day, and he's just kind of looking at me and wondering, no, you don't have to sign a release, my friend. You can, but he's not going to wave at us. Yeah. So that's called a rock hyrax or a coney. Okay, so we've arrived. You can see the view here is very nice, great view. And what we're going to do is, here we are. We're going to walk. Opa, yeah, watch your step, Jacob. We're going to walk. Now, these look like prison bars. And those are prison bars, because this is the Turkish-built jail. The Turks built this probably in the 1800s, late 1890s, somewhere around there. And Turkish jails are called it a kishle. That's the Turkish word for a jail. And like I said, this is today used by the Israeli police. Now, the city was reunited in the Six-Day War. In 1967, June 1967, Jerusalem is reunited, and this part of the city, the old city, was under Jordanian control. And the Jordanians did not let not only Israelis in the old city, which means getting to the Western Wall, the Wailing Wall, but here at all. Any Jew couldn't go to Jordan and come to the old city. They wouldn't let you. So today, the police station, which is the modern one, which is right over there, they use it as a parking lot. They park their vehicles here. They used to have their mounted police here, but they've cleaned out the stall. They moved the horses out of the city. And what we're looking at now is the Meridian Quarter. So we're going to be walking over there again. This is the site of Herod's palace, And if you more or less see this blue window over there that I'm pointing at, more or less that's where Jesus is tried by Pilate. So, and I can say that with a great deal of certainty. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get back on the ramparts and continue our walk. And what I'm explaining to you is more or less what I explained to my guests when they come here. And we have time to do this, because you do not do this on bus tours. Just guys, on bus tours, you don't have time to do this. But if you, it's pretty, Jerusalem's a pretty place, guys. But if you have the means and can do a private tour, you need at least 2 days for Jerusalem. 1 day for the Old City, 1 day, at least 1 day for the Israel Museum, the Holocaust Museum, Yad Vashem. I'm not going to be doing a tour of Yad Vashem. I would prefer you guys come and do that. I can't talk there. I mean, I can film inside, but that's going to be one place that I won't be doing a virtual tour. So now notice we go up and down. We go up and down these towers. The bottom of the towers, that's Crusader. So again, that dates from about 1100 AD, and the upper walls, the Turkish walls, date from about 1540. Okay, they were finished 1540, 1541, and used a lot, because what happens is that Turkish rule over the land of Israel kind of gets loose in the 1600s, 1700s, and the Bedouin and the Druze invade and cause trouble in the area today we know as Israel. Yeah, the stairs are kind of steep here, so you are going to want to nice and easy walk down the steps. And you can see not a whole lot of tourists here. Now I'm alone. It's a weekday. It's a Tuesday, and now you'll see this huge area. By the way, this is a dormitory of a seminary for Armenian priests. Armenians are Orthodox Christians. That means the priests can marry. And the seminary, it's a place where they get their where they learn to become priests. The Armenian quarter is about half empty. So that's why we saw this. You see this, looking through here, you see this big parking lot here. We'll get a better view of it in just a moment. And the Armenians don't want to build anything, because to build something, they got to have a building permit. And to get a building permit, you have to call in the archaeologists. And once you call in the archaeologists, they can stop your project. And they can essentially say, guys, there's something important here. We're taking over the land. We'll give you an alternative land site, probably not in the Old City. So the Armenians aren't stupid. They're gonna leave everything as it was, and they just turned these fields into a parking lot. So let's just take a look outside. What we're looking at, there's the King David Hotel right in front of us. Below us, you see this neighborhood, an older neighborhood. I think that's the second oldest neighborhood or third oldest neighborhood in Jerusalem. Mishkanot Sha'ananim. Sorry, that's Yamin Moshe. Yamin Moshe. Mishkanot Sha'ananim is the other side. That's the oldest neighborhood outside of the walls. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. I haven't guided here in half a year, 4.5 months. So, and up here, I haven't been here since January. So I'm a bit rusty. I hope you'll forgive me, but this is good practice for me to do these virtual tours. So yeah, we got some steep stairs to go up. Up we go. And we're going to walk to the southwestern corner. Now you can see, well, they are going to build something here. You can see this big empty area that the Armenians are going to do something with. I haven't seen this construction yet. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to transpire here. Because this, you can see their parking lot here. And easy, down we go. With, oh, and here's the southwestern tower of the old city of Jerusalem. So again, the old city, not very big. Like I said, only about 3.5% of the population of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the biggest and most populated city in Israel, and it is our capital. Okay. So let's go, let's look at this. We'll go to a better view here on the corner. Now, like I said, you see here just empty, you see here a good part of the Armenian Quarter is just empty lots. Yeah. So let's go over here and let's see, where can I stand? How about right here? There you go. So you should be able to make out the windmill there and the longer buildings to the left. The first neighborhood, built 1861 by a former Lord Mayor of London, a guy named Sir Moses Montefiore. He was on Queen Victoria's Privy Council. And he had an American cousin named Joseph Toro, who fought with Andy Jackson in the War of 1812. They were relatives, both Sephardic Jews. And when Toro died, he left a large sum of money to be contributed to the Jewish population of Jerusalem. So inside the old city in the 1860s, it was just an awful place. You know, no sewage, it was just, you know, just a great place to get cholera. And Montefiore, the great Victorian reformer, said, why don't we build new neighborhoods with clean water supplies, outhouses. You know, that's a great, you're living in a backward country when outhouses are a great improvement in your life. Yeah, you know, forget indoor plumbing. So that's behind us. Then what we see here is a Armenian cemetery, the Catholic cemetery on the other side. And we see a big church here. That's the church steeple. That's the church itself, called the Dormition Church. Dormition Church, Roman Catholic, built by Kaiser Bill. And if you look at that clock tower, it looks, the top of that tower reminds people of a German pickle ring helmet. That's what the officers used to wear in World War I. So that was that church was paid for by Kaiser Bill, because remember Germany, Germany is a new country. It was united, I believe, in 1868, and the Prussians, the Kaiser himself was of course a Lutheran, but he had to enfranchise all of southern Germany is mainly Catholic. So he had to, do the political thing, and he builds this church, builds two churches in Jerusalem, right across from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in the Christian Quarter. He builds the Redeemer Church, essentially rebuilding a Crusader church. I'll talk about that when we do a tour of the Christian Quarter. And he builds this one here. We're not going to go inside. I don't know if it's open. A lot of the churches are closed, and if they're open, only a very small part. So maybe a little bit later we'll do a tour just dedicated to like I said, the Christian Quarter. So again, looking at the Armenian Quarter here, that's the Armenian church right there, Church of St. James. And right in front of us here, this building with the glass roof is a Christian school for mainly Muslims. Not all. The Armenians, of course, send their kids to school, but Armenians are a very, very, very small part of the population of Jerusalem itself. And it's a very good school, private school. So most of the students are Muslim. The Muslim parents want to give their kids a good education. Okay, we're nearing the end of our little walk here today. Like I said, it's not going to be this isn't a long walk. It takes half an hour. Depending on, I walk fast, I know. And I always used to have to slow myself down. That's why I joined the infantry when I was in the Army. I was a good walker, still am. And of course, what's coming into view is the Mount of Olives. So Mount of Olives, and hopefully we'll get a view of the Dome of the Rock. We'll see. I think we're a little bit, I kind of see it. We'll go over. I think we're a little bit too far south to see that. So right in front of us there, that is the Mount of Olives. The church steeple on top, Church of the Ascension. There's the Dome of the Rock right there. We see the Golden Dome coming up. And we're going to climb this last tower over Zion Gate. Zion Gate going, if you start in Jaffa Gate and go counterclockwise, it's the second gate. And here's somebody who works here. Get your mask on, my friend. Get your mask on. So this is, what you see here is where boiling oil would have been poured down on the attackers, because the gate is right below us. Now you see the walk continues, but we're gonna get off here. This is where I usually end. Now you can see this fantastic view here. We see directly in front of us. I'm pointing. That's the Dome of the Rock. Okay, Dome of the Rock. If we go to our left, we see a large white dome. That's in the Jewish quarter, and that is the Horva or Beis Yaakov synagogue. In between the two domes, we see a tower and buildings. That's Hebrew University of Jerusalem, Mount Scopus campus. The tower is called the Einstein Science Tower. Now, let's go look at that dome again, and if you look directly behind the dome, you can make out a building with arches, and that is the Brigham Young Jerusalem University branch. That's right, Mormons are here. As we go a little bit more to the right, we see a tower, a second tower. That is Augusta Victoria Hospital. That tower is to the church. It was built by our friend Kaiser Bill. Not our friend. He was not a friend of the Jewish people. I should say his name in Spit. And then, of course, the third tower we see, that is, of course, the Church of the Ascension, marking the place where Jesus ascends to heaven. Now, if you can make out in the distance, we see a line of mountains. Guys, that's already Jordan. The Dead Sea is right down there. And if we look a little bit, if you go to the area on the horizon, Mount Nebo was up there. Mount Nebo, of course, marks where Moses died. And if you ever go there, that's in Jordan, and I highly recommend going there when all this nonsense ends. It's really, really a neat place. Now, I'm going to go, I go down here, and then we're going to walk out Zion Gate right below us. So, exit, just so you should know that we really are, this is really the way we go. And so I'm not going to edit this at all. This is a virtual walk. Now, I know on YouTube, they have these virtual walks where it's just somebody walking. So what you can do is you can turn me off, just turn the volume off, and you can do this. But I don't know how interesting that's going to be. Let's see how we're doing here. Yeah, okay, now I'm filming. I hope the camera was on when I was walking. If not, this is going to be really stupid. Oh boy, I'm going to have to do this again. Okay. Out we go. Holy moly. And fight the crowds here. I'm going to fight the crowds. Go outside. And so this is, notice we're taking this 9-degree turn. Oh yeah, someone's coming out. And here we are outside of the old city. And this part of Jerusalem, where, like I said, that's the old city there, and back of me is the Mount of Zion. So here we are at Jaffa Gate. So everybody, hope you enjoyed the tour. Jacob Purcell, Jerusalem, the old city, signing off. Bye.